Wednesday night midweek Oasis service. It is Wednesday, June 9th, and June is, as you know, we're celebrating Pride Month, and it's also our birthday month. So many of us on this call. What is our Wednesday night service? Well, it's an oasis, a place where we can be together as a community to be spiritually refreshed between Sundays. I personally just love it. Our beloved Reverend Jeff introduced our Wednesday night services in the satsang style with the intention that they are informal, intimate, and rich. And we typically have about a 20-minute discussion afterward. The annual theme is timeless wisdom and evolutionary vision, while our monthly theme is the soul's call for June. So we are welcoming any new guests. While we are centered primarily in Oakland, we welcome people from many regions. As you know, I'm from Lake Tahoe. We have Peter from Portland. We have some guests from San Jose. Sometimes Bonnie visits her Irish home. We know that we are all called to be here and that something you are about to hear will apply to benefit your life. For those of you who have not been on our services, we will be muting your phone or video to improve the quality of transmission. And today I'm going to introduce to you two of our most dynamic and integral community members. We have Constance Chapman and Paul Presuitti. And as you know, I'm usually not here. I'm subbing in for Paul tonight. Constance Chapman is our practitioner and administrative coordinator for the center, but nothing happens at the center without Constance sending her blessing or being part of it. And while it is a difficult job, she masters it and has mastered it for such a long time. We are so grateful to Constance. I personally have reached out to her for prayer a few times, and she's always there. Actually, I think it was an in-person prayer that I had with Constance that kept me coming back. And well, I can say lots of things about Paul, but Paul Presuitti is our facilities manager and our team co-lead along with Christopher Brown. He is usually here as a host for our Wednesday night service. Because he's such a stage manager and a production coordinator, he realized that it would be helpful to have a different host tonight, and I'm honored to be here. When I paid a visit to Oakland Center, Paul greeted me, and it was cute because he was wearing his mask and I wasn't sure. Under the mask, you can't really tell who's who, and we had never met in person. So he was open enough to give me a wonderful tour of the center, and it was so fun to see him in the flesh. And he obviously takes so much pride, no pun intended, in the center and the upkeep of the center, no pun intended, and all the maintenance and what I consider to be seva, which is really near and dear to my heart. So thank you, Constance and Paul. We really look forward to hearing what you've got to share tonight. And I'm a little bit early on time, but if you'd like, Constance, you can open us up in prayer.
I'd love to. Thank you, Sage. Oh, I just finished a class with Reverend Dr. Edward from Santa Rosa. It was on affirmative prayer. And one of the things he said that stuck with me is he said, prayer is a form of meditation. So let's just start by taking a breath and just allowing the quiet to envelop you, to surround you. And how good it is to know that God is all there is, that God is the heart of all hearts, God is the mind of all minds. God is the sound of all sound. God is the sound of no sound. That God is everywhere present. There is not a place where God is not. So just take that in. There is not a place that God is not. And so how good it is to know that that's who and what my life is. And how good it is to know that that's the life of everyone on this call, everyone in our village, everyone in the world. That God is who and what they are. And so I just claim that this time we have together is good and very good. That exactly the right things are going to be said, exactly the right people are going to hear what they need to hear. And that we all come away from this. That I just claim that we all come away from this evening a little bit richer, a little bit farther along on our spiritual journey. And I am just so in awe of the magnificence of this energy we call God, that already knew this prayer before it was even spoken. And so I can release my word now, knowing that it is done. It is done. And so please join me in saying, and so it is.
So it is.
So tonight, Paul and I, we're gonna, I don't know about Paul, some of you may know this about me, I sometimes like to stir the pot. And that's what we're doing tonight. Hopefully we're going to stir the pot so that you can actually experience some discomfort, and then we can figure out how to resolve it, how to move through it. So I've done a PowerPoint, and so it's the untrivia night at the Wednesday Oasis. So we're going to start, and this is a little quiz that you don't have to answer the answer to it, but if you can call it out now. I just want you to know that Susan Urquhart Brown already knows about this photograph, so you don't have to worry about there being any impending marital relations and problems going on. So who is Christopher with? If you know the answer, if you know for sure the answer, please don't say it. But who do you think this is? Who is this beautiful blonde? All right, well, here I'm going to do a reveal for you. Are you ready for the reveal?
Oh, not yet. Doug has chatted. He thinks it's Reverend Jerry. Huh.
Oh, okay.
Loud. Anybody else throw in chat something that you think it is? Who she is? If not, we're ready for the reveal, but that's interesting.
Okay, are you ready? Okay, 3, 2, 1. What? Wait a minute. That didn't work. 3, 2, 1. Come on. Up, up.
Oh.
I'd have to do something different. 3, 2, 1. Here we go. That is who it is. That's our
Don't
own
judge the
Paul.
book by its cover.
So that is that. You see, Paul is not amiss to stirring the pot either. And in that case, it was a gender pot that he stirred. So we're going to start tonight, and I have a question for you. How many genders are there? So here's a little poll. You can just click the answer. So Lita, for those of you on the phone, the answers that you can choose from are 2, 4, 22, or 72. So just click your answer. If you don't know how to do this, you can put it in the chat. So we have it right now, we have equal numbers on 4 and 22. So
And it
I'm just,
looks like we can only vote once.
Right.
And 12 of 19 have voted.
that's okay. We're gonna move on. So I'm
Okay.
gonna end the poll, and there is the results. So 50% said 4, 42% said 5, 1% said 72. So come on, get out of there.
What's the answer?
The answer is it depends on depends on who you're talking to. Come on, get out of there.
I gotta mute myself. I'm sorry.
Okay. So 56% of Americans in a 2019 Pew poll said that only 2 genders should be on applications. But if you go on the internet, MetaNet says there's 4 genders. Medical News Today says there's 22, and Teen Talk Canada says there's 72. So here's just a few of the words that are being used to refer to asexual, androgyny, bigender, butch, cisgender. Paul, do you want to pick up the list and start reading?
Gender expansive, gender fluid, gender outlaw, gender queer, masculine of center, non-binary, omnigender, asexual, polygender, and pangender, transgender, trans, two-spirit, female to male, FTM, gender non-conforming, gender questioning, neither, other, AFAB, assigned female at birth, aliagenda, AMAB, a poor agenda. I might, one of these might be a cuss word in a minute. Boy, demigender, diaxitic, feminine, gray gender, gender apathetic. If you're confused, I'm even more confused than you are. Go ahead, Constance.
Okay, so here's a quote from Kate Bornstein. She wrote one of the very first books on being transgender. She wrote it in 1994. It was fairly groundbreaking. And she says, I know I'm not a man, and I've come to the conclusion that I'm probably not a woman either. The trouble is, we're living in a world that insists we be one or the other. And so that's one of the things that's really important to think about is that one of the things that the LGBTQI plus movement has done is started to push us into discomfort around the issue of duality. Paul, did you want to say anything about the interview that you read with her?
Yeah, Kate Bornstein, for historical purposes, I know Doug is on the call, he probably knows a lot. She wrote a book in 1994, over 30 years ago, called Gender Outlaw, Men, Women, and the Rest of Us. And her statement is basically saying, I know I'm not a man, and I've come to the conclusion that I'm probably not a woman either. The trouble is, we're living in a world that insists that we be one or the other. So the premise of her book is challenging the binary idea of man or woman. You're either or. If you, no matter how you're born or how you present, whatever you present, you should present man or woman. And she's saying that she's non-binary, that that's another option. Even though we live in a world where you should choose one or the other in a binary situation, she believes that non-binary is another form of the other 2 genders. So now we start to add up the numbers to get to 72 by thinking that way. So her book was all about that. The traditional thinking, in order to satisfy the need to parse, we have a need to parse a subject or categorize something as this or that. Back in when she wrote the book, she had input from the sociological groups of thinkers at the time. And now those people are now in leading positions in the country and in the sociological medical field. They are still pressing this idea that you need to be one or the other, whereas she is pressing the idea that gender is a spectrum. It's not a construct. A construct is black or white, man or woman. She, in this article, was written in 2016, and it was right after the election. And she said that millennials had been surveyed, and that 60% of the respondents, those millennials, understood gender to be a spectrum. So it was not an either or thing. The idea from her book to the 2016 survey is that there's been a shift in the understanding of what gender is. And that's what she is now presenting in this article. And she's actually has rewritten the book to explore the idea of a third gender, and goes into all of those other 69 genders that we talked about. So things have shifted from when she wrote the book in 1994. She's a trailblazer. She is an incredible being, and I've come to love her through this investigation, about her willingness to take on an uncomfortable subject and bring it forward for discussion. And that's kind of what we're doing tonight. Constance, I'll turn it back over to you.
Okay, so we've got another question for you. True or false? Sexual orientation fluctuates over time. So you can just throw it into the chat. What do you think? Do you think that's true or false? Sexual orientation fluctuates over time. I'm going to move through this fairly quickly. So Paul, you can keep an eye on the chat if you could. So the answer is true. So, and one of the things that Kate Bornstein said in that article is that the new spectrum that people are talking about now is asexuality, that wasn't even talked about before. So people move between periods of sexuality and asexuality. And they also move between different orientations. So for example, you can go from being allosexual, which means you're attracted, you like sex, you want sex, you got an itch and you want to scratch it, to being gray sexual, which is you don't really get an itch all that often, to being asexual, which is really you don't get an itch at all. So you might also identify as gay and then later in life become bisexual, or as a lesbian and then as heterosexual. So in a 2015 asexual census found that over 80% of its respondents identified as another orientation before they identified as asexual. And I read a study quite a while ago about that lesbians will change their often change their identity depending on who they're hanging out with. So it can be fluid. So here's the only quote I've been able to find. Doug might be able to find some more, but this is one that I found from Ernest Holmes about what he said about passion. Most people who think they are in love are just attracted physically. When people who are attracted on a physical plane are married and the fire and the passion is burned out, there's nothing in common but a common ordinary physical attraction. And when that is gone, the love is gone with it. And that's both, I think, both true and untrue. It's true in that is true that if at least in my experience, that when I get together with someone and it's based on physical attraction, I can be in a relationship for them with a long time. And when that relationship ends, there's things I figure out I didn't even like about them. On the other hand, there's also a belief in here that that if you have that itch, that the itch somehow dies after a while, and that's one of the things that the asexual movement is sort of bringing forward, but it isn't true for everybody. So let's look at where is your discomfort. So what we've done is we've put together 4 scenarios. And I want you to imagine that you are in a position at Oakland Center to help move people into a position of leadership. So people are coming forward, whether it's for senior minister or for youth and family, whatever, and and you're in a position to help influence that. So I'm going to show you 4 scenarios. What I want you to do is to really pay attention to your gut reaction to these. Pay attention to your body sensations, to your emotions, and to any thoughts and beliefs that come up. And so we're not trying to be politically correct here. This is really wanting to lean into discomfort. Okay, so all the relationships which we're depicting here are with consenting adults. So we're not going to get into any issues about power or anything like that. We're just going to assume they're all consenting. So the first one, the minister is gay, in his 50s, and is dating a young man. The second one, the minister is bisexual and is in a relationship with 2 other people. The third one, the minister is gay and does his talk wearing a dress and a wig. And the last one, there's a woman applying for the youth and family coordinator. She's lesbian and an activist. So I'm just going to stop that for a minute, and let's just take for a minute and talk about, is there anyone with the courage to talk about whether they had some discomfort with any of those? And remember, you're in a position of putting these people into leadership at Oakland Center.
Hello? I
Yes?
can't unmute I can't undo my screen, so this is Sherry.
Oh, hi, Sherry.
I'll say the only one that I had discomfort with was the minister dressing up in the dress to, hello, there we go. The minister dressing up in the dress to give the talk. I just wouldn't think that would be a good thing in front of the congregation. That just really, I was uncomfortable with that, but the other 3 were just fine with me.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing. Anyone else?
I had the same discomfort, the wig and the dress. I had some discomfort with the minister with, I believe it was 3 people in the relationship.
Yeah,
I'm not comfortable with that.
okay. So Maureen, you have your hand raised?
Coming, hi.
Hi.
I felt uncomfortable with the more than one partner, but I think it has everything to do with the fact that I was raised in a Presbyterian church that only had a male minister and a female wife. And so what came to mind was how would you handle the relationship with an additional person? And I was like, and maybe that's not a bad thing. Maybe having more people here to support the community and love us up, not a bad idea. So.
Okay, well, thank you. So, so Paul, I think I'll screen share again. We can go into the next part.
Yeah, the point of this exercise is it's not right or wrong to be uncomfortable.
No.
You know, uncomfortable is uncomfortable, and what's interesting is how does it affect your decision making on a subject?
Right.
When you're uncomfortable.
Right. So here's how we lean into the discomfort. First of all, is you acknowledge the discomfort. So I really appreciate everyone that spoke up and said they had discomfort. That's the first thing. Because here's the thing, an unexamined, and secondly, know that the discomfort's there for a reason, and it's there for us to learn more about ourselves, because it's always an inside job. So it's not like you have to change your mind necessarily. But the fact of the matter is that an unexamined belief is Paul, I've lost my words here. An unexamined
Unconscious.
yes, an unexamined belief is an unconscious belief. And when a belief is unconscious, it's going to run you. You're not going to run your life.
Can almost fester.
Yeah.
And you don't understand why you're feeling the way you are. You just know something is uncomfortable. And
Right.
I often say to myself, when I'm uncomfortable in my chair, I shift to be more comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not advocating in these pictures or these scenarios. We're just trying to bring up something uncomfortable. We're not advocating for you to shift and be comfortable with it, because uncomfortable has its place. But there are things that through my life that I was uncomfortable with, particularly around talking about my sexuality and coming out and sharing my story with my family, and worried about, I was in great discomfort about what the outcome would be. And so that created a lot of discomfort. Fortunately, by being willing to take it and forgive myself for where I'm at and forgive whatever the outcome would be, that was more important, that my truth be known to my family so that they would not accept it, but just be aware of it. That's all I was asking, was that you would be aware. And to me, that to be aware of it is a form of forgiveness of self and others. Okay, Constance, I'll let you go forward with the idea.
Well, I just wanted to say too that in terms of discomfort, that um, uh, some of you know and some of you don't know that I lived in Canada for 35 years. I went up there when I was in my 20s, and I stayed for 35 years. I didn't think I was ever coming back to the States. When I came back to the States, I came back for other reasons, but one of the things that was going on was that I was actually changing my orientation, that I had lived as a lesbian for 25 of those 35 years. And when I came back here, I didn't say much to anybody. Partially that was my own discomfort because I wasn't quite clear what my orientation was. The other thing was is that I had lived through the marriage equality debate and resolution in Canada, and I had seen, marriage equality happened much earlier in Canada than it did here, but it was going on here, and I didn't want to say anything because I knew that one of the beliefs of the people who were against marriage equality is that our sexuality is a choice. So sometimes that discomfort, I had a discomfort, but I also didn't say anything because I didn't want to feed into a narrative that was false. So the third part of leaning into the discomfort is, after you've acknowledged it, is to forgive. Now, in that forgiveness, it doesn't mean that you are having to, again, you don't have to change your mind. And you don't have to um, do anything else. But what we want to do is forgive ourselves for having the discomfort, among other things. So it's not necessarily about forgiving a person. So necessarily. So the person that you have feelings about, that you're uncomfortable with, they may not be available. It may not be safe for you to talk to them directly. They may have transitioned. But forgiveness is always about your own freedom. And so it really is taking that discomfort, leaning into it, figuring out, if you can, what it is that is a belief that is that is the source of that discomfort, and then doing the forgiveness work. So it may be forgiving yourself. It may be forgiving your parents for having fed you what you consider to be something that's untrue. It may, who knows? So what we're going to do tonight is, well, first of all, here's Judith Orlaw says, in your own growth process, remember that the path to self-acceptance, inner peace, and spiritual growth is not a straight line. It's a spiral. We keep returning to issues we thought we had healed, but this time around, more profound truths are revealed, which enhance our self-knowledge. Though self-awareness often makes us stretch beyond our comfort zone, it's painful at times. The result is that we become more radiant, compassionate, and solid in our connection to spirit. And another thought about this is from Roger Teal. Forgiveness is one of the highest expressions of self-love. It is loving yourself enough to move out of that stuck place, to get out of that quicksand. It is taking all of the energy devoted to fear and resentment and channeling it into something that is constructive, life-giving, and uplifting. Forgiveness is freeing yourself to get back to the higher agenda of your life, no longer tethered to the past. So just like Maureen said when she said that the person who was in relationship with two other people, that gave her some discomfort, and probably because of where she grew up and how she grew up, that wasn't the norm. So what we're going to do tonight, there's many ways of doing a forgiveness. One of them that I love particularly is a Ho'oponopono. It means to make right, and it's a Hawaiian forgiveness. And in that way of thinking, there is a belief in the oneness, in that there is one energy that connects us all, so that if someone else is doing something that we don't like, or that is really harmful, or what have you, that somehow we have done something as well to help create that field that allows that to happen. And so I don't know how many of you know the story. The Ponopono is, I can't remember his name right now, was a psychiatrist, a Hawaiian psychiatrist. And he was at a maximum security psychiatric facility. And he didn't ever see the patients, but he went into his office, and every day he would go through every single file, and this is what he would say. He would say, "I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. And thank you." So, and the story goes that after he did this for a number of times, the energy in the psychiatric facility started to change, that the patients became less violent. The staff was actually able to interact with them. So what we want to do now is, we want to go into breakout groups for 5 minutes. And so what we want to do is go into breakout groups and have you actually practice this with another person. So whether it's on one of these scenarios that came up, or whether it is in something else in your life, you don't have to tell the other person what it is. All you're going to do is you're going to go in there, but you're going to hold someone or something in your mind. You're going to look at the other person in the eye, and you're going to repeat those 4 statements, which are, I'm going to put them in the chat for you as soon as I remember them. I love you. I'm sorry. Thank you, Sage. Please forgive me. And thank you. So Peggy, do you want to put us into breakout rooms now? So you got 5 minutes. So each of you will have 2.5 minutes. You can say it more than once if you want, but you're going to each have 2.5 minutes to do this exercise with another person. You're muted, Peggy.
I just opened the rooms.
Okay. Sam, Larry, and Donna are not in rooms.
Larry,
Larry just went.
I just went. There's one room that has 3 in it. Room 11 has call-in user Judith and Maureen, but I already clicked on open all rooms.
Well, maybe Sam's not by his computer. Maybe he went somewhere. There's Sam
There's
twice.
Sam twice. And so I assign Sam to a room.
Um,
Hi, Peggy.
Hi, Sam. How come you're not in a room?
I wonder why there are 2 of me.
I wonder why there are two Sams. There's one at the top.
Yeah, I was kicked out. I don't know what happened.
Well, let me see, Sam, if I can put you in a room. Hold on. It says not joined. I'm gonna move you. Oh, why let me see if I can. Okay, I'm gonna assign you to room number 6. Assign to 6. Okay, I put Sam's in a room now. I think everybody's in a room.
been unmuted. I've been muted. Did you put him into a room with Maureen? Because Maureen was alone.
No, I put him, I don't see Maureen alone. No, Maureen was in with Judith Franglass and a call-in user, number 1. So
Oh, well, neither.
they're in room 11. That's what it's showing. I got 3 of them in there. That's what it's showing.
I wonder if they haven't unmuted themselves. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, we'll just have to do the best we can do.
Yeah.
We got 1 minute 52. Do I have time to run to do a
Yeah,
bio break?
go.
Yeah.
Go now. Yeah.
Okay. Back.
I love this, the way in which you and Paul have addressed this. Wonderful. It definitely gave me some uncomfortable moments based upon my Catholic upbringing.
Yes.
time is up for the 5-minute breakout.
Yeah,
room. Do you
let's
want to
close
close
them,
all
yeah.
breakout rooms?
Yeah,
Close
yeah.
now. Oh yeah, I was uncomfortable with 3 people, and I'm comfortable with the dress up. Oh yeah.
You got to lean into a lot, hey, Peggy?
Oh yeah, I was leaning hard.
Well, thank you, Constance. That was quite a
We
trip.
didn't even get to finish our stuff.
Okay.
I was the lucky one. I got.
I
do
wanted
the
to talk,
first
I wanted Sherry to talk, and she didn't even get to finish.
Wait.
She didn't get to say nothing.
We didn't finish either.
We were too busy laughing.
We're too busy laughing at each other,
I got
and
Dorothy.
me acting like a fool.
Well, then we forgive you. We love you. Thank you.
And thank you.
I had the
Let's
video
practice.
upside down.
Let's
I couldn't
practice
even
in a
straighten
group,
out the video.
okay?
Right.
You took the words out of my mouth, Paul.
All right.
Oh,
I'm
Dorothy.
sorry, we're
All
trying
right.
to stick to the clock.
So for those of you who actually got to do it, what was it like? How was that for you?
Can I get my video unmuted? I mean,
Oh, sure. Where are you? Let's
Sorry.
hang on, Judith.
What I want to say is thank you for the education, Constance and Paul. Thank you.
Yeah,
This is
well,
Dorothy.
Ditto on that. Ditto on that.
hey,
Okay, Judith, there you go, Judith. You're on done.
okay, thank you.
Judith, did you want to start?
I immediately asked myself the question, what is it that I want to address the prayer to? And something came up, which was, 17 years ago when my sister passed away. So since that was what came out of the ether, that's who I said it to. And I felt a release. And so I got something out of that for sure. And I love that. I used to pray that prayer for different things.
Mhm.
So done.
Lula, did you want to say something?
Yes, I realized when I wrote these things down that I say the other 3, but I say thank you more than I say any of the other ones. Even when I call my sisters, we always say I love you, but we always doing different things for each other, and just thank you for doing this, or but I'm going to investigate why I don't say all the other 3 because I'm pretty sure it's something I can forgive.
And do you use those with people that you're uncomfortable with, or is it mostly with people that that you're family with and stuff?
Well, thank you. I don't think comfortable or uncomfortable. I say thank you. When somebody, sales clerk, it's not that I'm uncomfortable or comfortable. I just want to acknowledge that something was done.
Okay.
But but I do say I'm sorry. If I make a mistake, I will go out of my way to, like somebody say, oh, there wasn't a big thing. I want to be uncomfortable to go and let them know that it was, I'm sorry that I did it, and not try to, flub it off on something else.
Okay. So I want everyone for just a moment to think of a public figure, maybe a politician, maybe someone else in the public figure that really, as Lynn Carr Sykes used to say, really rubs your craw the wrong way.
Mhm.
And I want you to think about saying those 4 statements to that person. You don't have to say it in their presence. But see how that is, just in your mind, think about it and think, can you do that? Are you willing to do that?
Good questions. Yeah.
Because it's something,
Donald Trump came to me and I can't say it. That's the bottom line for me. I'm sorry.
And
This
that's
is
okay. You
Dorothy.
know what, Dorothy?
I'm
That's
with you on that
okay.
one, Dorothy.
Okay,
I think it's okay that we still have discomfort with somebody, and
all right.
and Jesus turned over the tables in the house on the
That's true.
taxpayer.
And the temple walls fell down. Hello.
Right. So integrity is important in all of this discussion. I want to, Constance, if we could, I want to go back to the Judith Orloff thing very quickly, the empath survival guide. And in it, she talks about in our own growth process, remember that the path to self-acceptance, inner peace, and spiritual growth is not a straight line. Okay, Dorothy, it's not a straight line. It's spiral. We keep returning to issues we thought we had healed, but this time around, more profound truths are revealed. And what do we say about healing and science of mind, right, Dorothy? When we pray, it's I heard it today on the Dr. Dan call. It was it's not that we're praying for a healing, but for the truth to be revealed, right?
right.
Right. So I want to go back for just a second, Constance, before we wrap and really, and I think you're right, and I think Sage has something important to add around the statement. But in this article from Kate Bernstein, remember she wrote the book, she's the leader in transgender ideas. Again, in the article in 2016, which forced her to reconsider and has since rewritten the book, she said that she was on a bus with Caitlyn Jenner and 6 trans women.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, all my public life as a trans person, trans women have been both my Achilles heel and my arch enemies. And she's a trans woman herself, okay? So I've been denounced over and over again with some good reason. And what I found so challenging on the bus is that these were lovely women. They were women. And I thought, all right, their truth of their gender is valid. It's as valid as my truth of gender, she said, even though we have different truths. And I think that's important. As individuals, we have different truths. And just like in the Judith Orloff thing, it says we had healed, but this time around, more profound truths are revealed. So as we reveal the truth, there's a healing, but it can come back. And I think this prayer that you presented tonight allows us to readdress the comeback. And Sage, you mentioned something about in our conversation. I'm hoping that you'll say around the unconscious belief in that stuff.
Sure. Yeah. Basically, what I was saying was thank you so much, Constance, for bringing this, because I do believe that it helps transcend that unconscious belief, that conscious belief. It kind of transcends between those beliefs, whatever it is. These 4 magic phrases have a way of really creating a ripple effect and just really honoring wherever it is that you are on that process of realization.
Right. Okay, so
I have something.
Okay, Lita.
First, I want to say thank you for this education. And getting back to the questions about the 4 or 5 ministers and how they appeared, I'm looking at that and thinking about, okay, why 2 or 3 of the statements made me uncomfortable. And I have to look at that some more. I really want to know why it made me uncomfortable. and I believe it's from my upbringing, my religious upbringing, and getting back to the what you just talked about, a public figure, and could I forgive that person or say the 4 statements, I love you, etc. No, I'm not ready for that. But what I could do is ask God to forgive that person for me because I'm not able to do it.
You know what what I've done, Lita, that's helped me with that is I think of those people as children. And I think that child, at some point that child had an innocence and it was taken away and it was formatted into something different. And if I think about that person as a child, then it's easier for me to start saying that. Now that person still may or may not have a choice. They clearly don't think they have a choice about being any different. And so Sherry Kramer has 3 questions. If sexual orientation changes in a person over a lifetime, that's a choice. Maybe or maybe not. It may be that it's a revealing, Sherry. It may not be a choice. It may be a revealing. And it may be a choice.
Again,
It could,
unconscious belief. Yeah.
yeah, could be either one.
Okay.
Are all 72 genders actually genders, or the way people see and call them? Well, it's an interesting question. I think that what's a gender?
Right.
Right.
One of the other things that Kate Bornstein said in that article, where she was talking about the Q in LGBTQ and I plus, and she says it's queer, and she said I'd have to go back, Paul. I don't know if you have it there, but she talks about queer as being the
Antithesis of
or the uncertainty,
right.
so that someone who's queer is
Unpredictable.
unpredictable. Yes, it's unpredictable, and so and I think, I don't know about you, but I don't know many people who are comfortable with unpredictability.
Hmm.
And what Kate demonstrates through her book and through her things is that there are uncomfortable issues that we all have to deal with around our identities, whatever they may be. And she brings up the cues because she says, but you know, if I'm a man presenting as a woman, what I want to do is be normal, but everybody sees me as abnormal in that attempt, right? Or in that expression. But the truth is we all want to be normal and accepted. She says that it's a paradox. She says, I still think it's about the revelation of your truth, the birthing of your truth. And she says, I still maintain my truth, which is that gender is a free-for-all and a playground. It's a spectrum.
Free-for-all.
That's how she presents it. It's a spectrum. Some of us are more of this and a little less of that. I have the ability to go through a 5-hour transformation with makeup and hair pulling in places you don't even want to talk about. And I can look the way you saw me at the beginning of this presentation, right? I mean, there's transformations that go on that can happen. But she says the big challenge for me was to welcome into my heart, more than anyone else, that gender can be seen in more ways than mine. And I thought that was a big breakthrough for her, that she was willing to expand her awareness of a situation. And here she is, the leader in this subject, saying, oh, there could be more genders than just mine.
Right. Yeah.
There's something else too that I want to bring up that's in the chat. Yeah, that I thought was very significant. Doug put it in there, Doug Myers. Thank you, Doug, for mentioning that. The word queer was often used as a weapon. It was used as a slur and a weapon against people by people who were thinking that their opinions was better than what anybody else's, and not thinking that their opinion was a judgment. But in fact, that's what it was. And it was wonderful that queer people took that word and stopped it from being a weapon to be used against them, and they embraced that word for themselves.
Mhm.
And therefore it was no longer so hurtful. And then in that process, I think, Doug, you said it better than I'm saying it now, of questioning, reclaiming a word that was used as a slur to cause emotional pain.
Right.
When
Yeah.
I was about 6 or 7, Peggy, I didn't know what gay was, but I knew that I was somehow different.
Mhm.
And I can remember vividly in my parents' bathroom, my mother was getting ready to go with my father. She was putting on makeup, and I don't know what the conversation was about, but I can vividly remember her saying, if I found out that any one of my boys was queer,
Yeah.
I would die. And so, what Constance alluded to with the child that you're trying to forgive if you think of them in that, so that stabbed me emotionally as a little boy, that I carried with me for a long time. And to this day, I mean, I can say that I'm queer, and I don't melt, but my preference still is to say that I'm gay rather than queer.
Mhm.
And it's
Yeah.
from that incident, 50 some odd years ago.
Yes.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think dyke is another one of those words that got used as a
Yes.
as a slur and has been reclaimed.
Mhm.
So Maureen, you have your hand up again.
Yes. So I actually had a training just the other day about this and the unicorn and the different ways of, identifying and things like this. And I was just amazed that this is going mainstream into schools to teach young kids. Okay, this is out there. And what it made me think of was, in our philosophy, we believe in manifestation and being our own unique expression of who we are. And holy shit, this is it. If we have a bajillion genders, that's exactly the universe expressing how we can create our own person, our own expression. And so, yes, this is amazing and beautiful. And I just had that realization the other day. So it really is amazing to see and to look at it from this perspective. And I am grateful to have been given this perspective. Thank you.
And Sherry, to answer your third question, and we're running out of time as usual, but you asked about how would they sign themselves if they're not male or female, if they're non-binary, and a lot of them are using the pronouns they and their.
Or it.
Oh, that's right. Just the over umbrella, yeah.
And that's a mind-blowing thought as well.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the idea is, in tonight's discussion, is that this is all a transformation and an evolution. Things are changing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all
Okay.
about how we embrace change. And yes, it may be uncomfortable, but again, can we shift to a more comfortable position?
Uh-huh.
Right. And if the Hawaiian saying and is a method of how to use that to shift, or at least address the issue head on in a comfortable and safe way.
Got it.
For most people.
Yeah.
I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you both so much.
Yeah. I was hoping to get one of my nieces to come on this call tonight, but neither one of them were available. But my one niece teaches at the California Academy of the Arts, And her wife, who is now dean of that school, would always ask students the very first day, what pronouns do you use? As a sign of respect. So you will see, so for example, like on my name, I have she and her. So people are starting to do that as a way of letting other people know what pronouns they're actually using, so that we can be respectful. So, so Paul, I think it's 8:01. We better turn this back over to Sage.
Yes, and I want to thank everybody for attending. We have a whole month of celebrating yet. This is only week 2 of what, 4 weeks this month?
Yeah.
No, 5 weeks 5 Wednesdays this month.
Right.
So a lot more to come down the pike, but thank you for being willing. Thank you for being willing to be uncomfortable with us. And hopefully, as we continue to meet in our many, many, many opportunities through which Sage will talk about, but our Dr. Dan, Zoe's group, Susan's group, Sunday service, Wednesday service, we have an opportunity to support one another through our uncomfortable times.
Thank you so much, Constance and Paul, for your rich discussion. I will go ahead and give you guys a few little announcements before we close. This Sunday, June 13th, Reverend Savannah Riker is speaking on the Soul's Call with a talk about leaning into discomfort. Meditation is at 10 and service starts at 10:30. And next Wednesday, June 15th, which also happens to be my birthday.
Yay.
Sam Ladion will be making his Wednesday night debut speaking to What's Evolution Without Love. Meditation is at 6:30 and service is at 7. For those of you interested in another listening circle, Reverend Sunny is hosting one more, and this coming Saturday, June 12th at 12 noon, we have a circle open to all villagers, including the practitioners and the board. We do hope you can join. Please sign up by going to the events page on the website. Home Office Centers for Spiritual Living is proud to offer the Honoring Freedom Juneteenth Weekend Symposium. This weekend has an amazing lineup of speakers and musicians, including our own beloved Reverend D. Jacqueline Edwards. If you haven't received an email about this event, check out the Village News or the events page for the registration link. And
Sage, can I just say that there is a group registration. If we can get 5 people to register together, it reduces the price. So if anyone's interested, let me know.
Great. I might be interested, Constance. Thank you.
Okay.
And we are moving forward with reopening. No date set yet, and we need your help. We need volunteers willing to be inside to help on Sunday morning. Contact Zoe at, I'll put his email in chat, Zoe DeMuro, ZODEMURO @gmail.com. As part of our reopening, we're looking for someone with video and production skills to work with the AV team for several weeks or longer once we reopen. For more details, please contact our administrative coordinator, Constance at oaklandcsl.org. And if you're wanting to be in a more intimate setting with other villagers, join in one of our small groups. The Noontime Spiritual Journey continues to meet Monday through Friday for a half-hour fellowship and spiritual enrichment based on the readings of Dr. Dan. Also, practitioner Susan Brecker is leading an in-person small group every Tuesday from 3 to 4. And practitioner Zoe DeMuro is leading an online small group on Thursdays at 6:30. Both groups explore the readings for the week and enjoy the connections for the gathering, as well as cultivate our wonderful village. Information for all these groups and all the events are on the events page of the website. And always, any of the information going on at Oakland Center for Spiritual Living, visit oaklandcsl.org. And now we're going to shift to our contribution time. Many of you are looking for an opportunity to give. We have many ways to contribute. Please honor the sanctity of the law of reciprocity and our host, our typical host, Paul, who likes to pass around the energetic basket, because we know as we give, we do receive. And I will read the affirmation. The gift I give is God in action. It does good work in the world and blesses creation. Thank you everyone for being here. Thank you. Oh, there are ways to contribute. You can go to the website and click the donate button. You can send us a check. If you need the address, text me. You can even text your donation. It's so cool. So many ways to contribute. Thank you for your contributions. And I just want to thank everybody for being here. Thank you for everyone that participated, our amazing Zoom team, our amazing speakers. It's great to see all your faces. And Constance, if you would please guide us with our closing prayer.
Constance,
Unmute yourself, Constance.
closing
No.
prayer.
The prayer was already spoken before I unmuted myself.
Okay.
So just breathing into that silence, breathing into that space that is God, that is all there is, because that's the only space we can breathe into, because there is no other place to breathe. It is always God. And God is rich and diverse, and God is love. God is first and foremost love. And I'm just so grateful for this time we've had together. I am so grateful for this evening of rich discussion, of insights, of curiosity, of revealing. And I just know that as everyone goes their way into whatever room they're already in, and they just stay there as we click off this Zoom call, or maybe you're on your way home. I just know that everyone has a blessed evening. And I'm just so grateful for everyone being here. And so please join me in saying, and so it is.
So it
And
is.
so